Well, this is the second video when we talk about cognitive disorders. There's three types of cognitive disorders. So let's kind of put this, let's kind of chunk this into some categories here for you. Okay. So cognitive disorders, there's three main ones. There's delirium, there's amnestic disorders, and there's dementia. Okay. So I covered delirium in the first video along with amnestic, and amnesia is a result of the amnestic disorder. So now we're going to talk about dementia. So let me give you some items out of the book here on dementia. Dementia is a gradual deterioration of the brain. Okay, dementia is a tough one. Dementia is really a tough one, and in dementia, people begin to have a little dementia, and then a little more dementia, and then pretty soon they might even go into Alzheimer's disorder. But Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. So what is dementia? Gradual deterioration of the brain that affects judgment, memory, language, and other advanced cognitive processes. It's caused by medical condition. Now you see what we keep saying over and over and over. Okay, over and over and over. And I don't want to overly stress this, but you got to understand, cognitive disorders occur over a period of time, okay, and usually happen in somebody that's older. You don't have dementia in somebody that's younger. You don't have Alzheimer's usually until somebody's older. But drug use can cause cognitive disorders rapidly. We could have delirium, we could have anesthetic, we could have dementia. And that's really sad. I know I keep saying this, but we're the only species on the face of the earth that can actually do damage to ourselves. Isn't that incredible that we're given free will, we're given the opportunity to do that? And so we have to remember that there's consequences for those things, and cognitive disorders are really irreversible many times in really sad situations. And you would really hate for that to be as a result of some type of drug abuse or alcohol abuse. But dementia, once again, okay, can be caused by medical conditions, okay, or drug use. Some forms are irreversible, okay, and some are resolved by treatment or primary condition. So I want to talk about dementia. Let's bring it back in, okay. Let me give you something. Make sure you're writing down the right things. I know I got to be careful because I want to cover the material a whole lot more than I want to just make sure you have notes, but I want to make sure that you've got this so you understand what kind of test you're going to have. So what's dementia? It's gradual deterioration of the mind. Gradual deterioration of the mind and the functioning of the mind. Okay. Now, you don't have to know all this, but what does that mean? You have to know that. It's gradual deterioration of the function of the mind. So what does the mind do? Well, the mind does judgments, memory, language, okay, and other cognitive processes, thinking, reasoning, all right. So what's it caused by? Medical conditionings, okay, medical conditions, and a lot of times the medical condition is aging. So why is it that some people get dementia and some people don't? That's what we're working on. This is a really big issue. It's a really big issue because Alzheimer's that we're fixing to talk about here, okay, is really a sad disorder because this dementia, this person that pretty soon you have a son or a daughter and you don't know the person that's in there. I mean, how hard is this? Some of you may have already dealt with this, and the dementia starts to where some days it's a little bit not remembering, it's the old saying, I don't have Alzheimer's, but I have Sometimers, Well, we all have a little bit of that, where we just forget some stuff. But dementia means we start losing judgment. Not just memory, but judgment, and we may even lose some language and that type of thing. So here we go. We're talking about dementia. It's gradual, okay? Now, the treatment, okay, the treatment once again, when we talk about treatment, the treatment is personal objects, reassurance, trying to get as much connection as we can to the person. However, a lot of it, if it's irreversible, then we don't have a lot of treatment. We don't have a lot of treatment. Now, let's go into what Alzheimer's is, and it's ALZ. It's, we make it sound like old timers, but it's not. It's Alzheimer's. ALZHEIMER'. And this is named after the person that actually studied this and began to make associations. So Alzheimer, ALZHEIMER. So Alzheimer's. Okay. Now, what is Alzheimer's? Alzheimer's is dementia, but Alzheimer's is irreversible dementia. So once we get to the point to where we lose this memory, we lose this judgment, we lose association, then we go into this Alzheimer's. Okay. Now let me give you some descriptions. All right. So now we go from in Alzheimer's we go from gradual memory loss to increasing memory impairment, and maybe even irreversible memory loss. Causes. Now, I like the way it says this because we don't know. Okay, now listen to this. Okay, so causes: progressive brain damage evident in the neural fibers. Okay, in the tangles and what we call the neuritic plaque, confirmed by autopsies, but assessed by simplified mental status exam, involves multiple genes. So what we're saying is this. We're saying that the brain has all these neurons and all the synapses going on in the brain. Plaque is a material that forms, okay? Plaque is a material that forms inside of it. Like you can have plaque in your arteries, okay? Which is you can have plaque on your teeth, okay? So plaque is a development of something that kind of develops on the inside. Usually the plaque in the blood vessels is usually like cholesterol, but we have plaque that actually forms in these neurons, these long neurons. We actually begin to get plaque that begins to choke out. Now we could go in now, and some of the new research is really fascinating because we can go in and we're beginning to develop instruments to be able to go in and look at some of these neurons and see if there's plaque there. And if you are a plaque producer, like when they do an autopsy after somebody dies that has Alzheimer's, then they go in and they find that this plaque has kind of choked out these neurons in the brain. And so they're like, okay, well, at what point am I a plaque producer in the brain, and what causes that plaque to develop? Oh, so that's where the new research is. And so we're able to actually kind of begin to look at this now. So maybe in your lifetime, we'll find out, if we can find out why the plaque develops, okay, and why it wraps up, and why it chokes out these neurons, and why it grows around the neurons, and what causes it. We begin to see plaque development. Here's what's happened, once again, just to deviate just a little bit into medical issues that have really helped us. So we're getting so much more developed in the issue of brain cancer. We're getting brain tumors. We're getting brain surgeons. We're going in. We say, so and so had a brain tumor. We went in. We moved back. That's incredible. That's incredible. I mean, we literally cut the skull. Think about what that involves. Okay, how invasive that is. Well, we're actually able to get in and see some of these neurons. We're able to actually take some samples of some neurons. We're able to try to look at a person through an autopsy, or even a person who donates their body to science, and get in there and look at this plaque and study this plaque. So that's the deal. This plaque that grows in the brain, and it begins to choke off these neurons. So we kind of got a system, and it's not totally perfected, and I don't even know that it's good that it's perfected yet, that can tell if you're developing plaque in your brain and that you are a candidate for Alzheimer's. And if so, how do we head it off? So, do you want to know that? I don't know. We get this whole deal. And once again, at what point are we playing God? As bad as Alzheimer's is, and you have this deal, which I wouldn't wish on anybody. I wonder maybe if that's God's way of you don't have to deal with something because that person knows no bad. That person I mean, who knows what that person is thinking? Wow. Now, it's not very good for a loved one, I mean, someone with Alzheimer's in a hospital, and there's a husband or a wife or a child or a son or a daughter or a grandson or whatever that goes in every day, and they associate with that person. That person doesn't even know who they are, or they might not even, or they might have so much dementia that they just have a blank stare. So really interesting. Once again, let's put it in there. Okay, so what is Alzheimer's? It's memory impairment. Okay, it's memory impairment that becomes irreversible. That doesn't get better. Okay. Now, once again, causes, it says progressive brain damage, and it's evident in the neurofibular tangles, okay? And it develops this plaque, develops plaque in the tangles. And what are the tangles? The tangles are all the neurons in the brain. And what are the treatment? Okay, now this is kind of interesting. That's why we spend so much time. Okay, there is no treatment as of today. Okay, as of today, there is no treatment for Alzheimer's. So what happens is, what's the research involved right now? We may have new research. We're working hard on Alzheimer's. We're thinking to ourselves, this is a disease that's really bad because somebody that has it continues to live even though they can't function mentally. Now, once again, who knows what's going on in there, and are we playing God? I don't know. But right now, there's no known cure. So we're working hard to understand this plaque that's choking out that's choking those out. So let's go on now. Okay, so that's Alzheimer's. Okay, all right. So now let's talking about some other types of dementia. Now, once again, 3 types of cognitive disorders: delirium, amnestic disorder, and dementia. So there's just 3. So we're still under dementia. Now, here's one called vascular dementia. Okay, vascular dementia is permanent deterioration due to block damage of blood vessels. Okay, so vascular dementia is another type of dementia, and vascular is in the blood system. So once again, we have permanent deterioration. So we block these blood vessels, okay? And when we block these blood vessels, then we begin to have no connection. We begin to have loss of legs or arms, or we begin to have heart problems. But we really begin to have what? Brain problems. 80% of all our blood goes to the brain. Okay, so if we have vascular dementia, then we have deterioration of the arteries. Okay, that's pretty much where we have. We're gonna stop there. Once again, it's not a hard chapter, but it's really an important one. And hopefully, in your lifetime, we're going to figure out this vascular plaque and what's causing this Alzheimer's. So once again, we talked about cognitive disorders. And these are rapid damage of the mind and the mind functioning. Oftentimes irreversible. 3 types of delirium. We talked about that. Go back and look at your notes. Looked at what it is. Look at the causes. And then amnestic. Look at what it is. Look at the causes. Look at the treatment for those. And then dementia. And then also under dementia we had Alzheimer's. Remember, that's not Alzheimer's, it's Alzheimer's, okay? Named after the person that discovered that and did a lot of research with it. And then we had vascular dementia. So that's it for cognitive disorders. Study those good. You also have some really key papers coming up, so just keep on working. And the case studies will begin to slow down. I know we had a lot of case studies earlier, but I got good news. They're slowly slowing down. So keep up the good work, and we'll see you for the next video.